Hey everybody, thanks for downloading this episode. Thanks for listening and for subscribing. We have had our first major technical malfunction. There was an issue with the audio on the second half of this recording, so unfortunately, what we have right now is a really good first half of a conversation, and we do apologize for that. We will be getting back with Jon Drake as soon as possible to get the rest of it out to you guys, so we hope you enjoy this episode and know that the full discussion will be coming out momentarily. So, again, thanks for listening and for subscribing, and we will talk to you guys soon. Enjoy.
What is your major malfunction, numbnuts?
Nobody wants to see my ugly mug anyway.
I don't know. If you go to that Nerf Herder Council webpage, you get a nice shot of it.
You do. You really do.
And then you get to play the Nerf Herder Council drinking game. Guess which one is Jon Drake.
All right. Well, I'm the fat one, so that's,
Wow.
Me too, man. Me too.
That's my wife's rack, and then the skinny one is my brother, and I'm the big one, so.
Beautiful.
Well, if you're ever in St. Louis, you have to stop at my house. I have a theater room, and it's nothing but Star Wars.
I will come out to St. Louis just to see that.
All right, yeah. I have I have all the
All right, we're doing a live recording
Star
at
Wars
Geoff's house.
fatheads. Yeah.
Oh, do you really got all the fathead ones?
Yeah, so
Those things are badass.
Yeah, so like the Darth Vader is actually like David Prowse size. It's 6'4.5".
Oh my God.
I had to measure it to make sure it would fit where I wanted to put it on the wall. Yeah, I'm a total Star Wars nerd.
That's awesome, man. So which one of you guys is Dan?
That's me.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And who else we got now? Joe?
So
Joe's down in front, but you can't see me.
All right, and I'm Geoff. I'm the one with the nerdy Star Wars guy that wants to...
Dan, Joe, and Geoff. Okay.
Nerf heard this.
Yeah, never heard this motherfucker.
Right. Nice. Yeah, dude. We're a new podcast. We've been trying to just like weasel our way into like everybody's collective unconscious.
Sure.
And because we've been doing this since I guess January, and we were just such big fans of all the other podcasts that were going on. But like, dude, one of the biggest things that bothered me about like a lot of the rock and metal podcasts is that like everybody is just so classic rock.
Very much so.
And
yeah.
I don't have a problem with that necessarily, but like when we went to the Rock and Pod Expo, we were like, damn, I think we're the only people that don't listen to Kiss.
Right.
And then like I don't hate Kiss or have any animosity. The good thing for you is that we didn't ask you to come on our podcast just so we could talk shit about your favorite band.
That's okay.
Because that's what we did. That's definitely what we did to Toomey.
Yeah, he's like, those guys were totally bagging Pantera. I'm like, wow, they sandbagged you, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was for whenever, because we did that in like a multiple part episode for Pantera.
Yeah, we recorded with
Right.
like a whole bunch of different people for that.
Yeah, I played nice whenever Toomey was on, and it was just Dan. But as it progressed, I turned to the dark side and was shitting on Pantera.
More and more vile he became.
Yeah, it's just mainly because
Yeah, right.
I can't stand Phil. Phil's just a douche. Outside of that, I love Pantera.
Dan sitting in the background going, good.
Yeah, right. Good. Let the hate flow through you.
Well, it's so funny because that episode was so tongue in cheek. Like we wanted it to be funny. We wanted it to be ridiculous. And I felt so bad too because like whenever we did that segment with Toomey, and I said like, "Oh, Dimebag's pretty good, but he's not, really very original or whatever." He got so mad.
You said he was adequate.
Yeah, I said he was a confident guitar player, and
Yeah,
he got
that's
so
what
mad.
Right.
And then like I listened to the next episode of his podcast after that. I was like, "Oh my God, we pissed off Toomey." Like,
Well, he has informed me that he has thin skin, so it's like I guess so.
So does Phil Anselmo.
yeah, we hit him. We hit him where it hurt the most. I feel really bad about that. But hey, we like Dream Theater, so yay!
Hey, it works for me, man.
Right.
I've taken plenty of beating over Dream Theater anyway, so if you didn't like them, it's nothing new for me. I have to defend them all the time.
Well, I like them. I don't like everything they've
they do.
done.
Yeah.
But it's definitely good outweighs the bad kind of thing.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I honestly, the stuff that I've kind of been like, on a few things has only been recently, like the early stuff, really up until
badass.
last,
rock solid.
up until the last couple albums, you know.
All
was
right,
really the
well, I
only-
think we're going to get along just fine in this this discography discussion because I think there's some opinions that are going to match up then.
Are we ready to get
Yes.
started then?
I think we
Sure.
are.
Okay then. Let me
Joe's in charge.
let me roll the freaking theme song here.
So do you guys record this live then?
We try to.
Yeah, before
Yeah,
we put
we're
it
not
out.
going live to hard drive. You know, like if there's shit that people say that we need to cut out, which is mainly Joe having to censor me. we do that.
That's exactly how we do it. Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you guys do with the swear? No swearing, minimal swearing. I can
fucking
Oh my
swear
god, dude!
nonstop.
Fucking swearing.
Just
all
don't talk
goddamn
about
day.
like, you know, something like that.
This is the part where Geoff gets censored.
Yeah, right.
I said once, and I got in trouble. so there's that.
you just got in trouble again.
Look at that.
Oh man.
Drives you guys nuts, huh?
Hell yeah!
Yeah, can't do that one. I don't even have a sister. I don't even know why it came up.
Oh wow!
Everybody is gonna know the beat by the end of this.
Dude, no structure. So I mean, literally, just sit back and relax.
And if you like to sit back and relax while Geoff gets censored, then you are ready for this episode of Discography Discussion. I am Joe. That is Dan. That is Geoff. Ladies and gentlemen, Jon Drake from the Nerf Herder Council and Talk Toomey podcast. Do I get to say both?
Of course you do. It's good promotion.
Lucky for
Awesome.
you, I just did.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for asking me out, guys. I'm a huge Dream Theater honk, so this will be a blast.
Dream
Sweet.
Theater, who's that?
Yeah, it's just some band.
Oh,
Just
okay.
some band.
Some shitty local band. I don't know.
Yeah, they had some weird purple bearded guy playing drums for him. I don't know.
That's Mike Portnoy's side project, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you mean the guy from Avenged Sevenfold? Yeah, he was great.
Oh,
He just did
my
that
God.
If we could not mention that band anymore, that'd be great.
Jesus Christ! Wow. Okay.
Never forget.
Sadly, one day we're gonna end up covering. You know,
Yeah, we will.
we talk about
that-
everybody.
Well, that's good. That'll be an episode if you need a co-host. Don't call me.
All right. Noted.
We gotta call Toomey back for that one, right?
Exactly. That'll be the Josh Toomey redux.
I'm calling Josh Toomey for 36 Crazy Fists. He seems to have as big of a heart on for them as I do.
He loves him, man. He's mined a lot of stuff out of him lately on our show. So
I just love his voice, man. I love Brock's voice, man.
I thought you were gonna talk about Josh Toomey again.
Well, I do like Toomey, but yeah, I mean, you know, I like Josh. Sorry. Oh, damn. I like Brock from 36 Crazy Fists voice a lot.
he does have a pretty cool voice. They're not
He
like
does.
I never really got into that band, but I always thought the singer's voice was pretty cool. So
Well, I think that it's because they started off as kind of like this, like metalcore, you know, emo metal kind of thing. But I don't
Yeah.
care. I like that stuff. So it's my generation. So
yeah, I was never really into that. It's close to my generation. I mean, I'm only 41 years old, but you know, and I kind of came up, you know, in the same scene that Toomey did. I
Hey,
didn't
I'm
do any
not
of
the
region-
oldest one on the podcast for a change. This is weird.
yeah, Jeff's old as shit.
Yeah, I'm older than Toomey, so this is great.
Well, there you go. See?
All right. You're the second oldest person we've had on the podcast.
I'm the elder statesman, man.
Yep.
What about Scott from Zayo? How old was he?
Oh, you know what? Yeah, he's probably older.
Yeah.
So you're the third. So Scott and then Travis was. He's in his
Travis.
40s.
I don't know how old Travis is, but oh well.
and
I think he
then
said
Jon
44.
Drake.
Yeah.
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 And now we got Jon Drake, so we've got
All right.
we've got a whole council, a Nerf
Yeah,
herder
exactly.
council.
Oh,
Yeah, Nerf Herder
we're gonna
Council,
talk
as
about
it
that
were.
later, right?
I hope
Yeah, right?
so, man.
Yeah, I'm
ready
hoping
to-
eventually this devolves into Star Wars, but
Yeah, I totally. That's the angle I'm taking.
Well, before this does break down into Star Wars and Dream Theater simultaneously, if that's even possible, I'm going to go ahead and say thank you to everyone for listening and for subscribing. If you are not a subscriber, you can find everything Discography Discussion at discussmetal.com. We are on Google Play. We are on iTunes. We are on Stitcher. We are on TuneIn Radio. So if you have an Amazon Echo product, you can say to it, Alexa, play the latest episode of Discography Discussion, and she will. We're also on Facebook and on Twitter at Discuss Metal. Be sure to like, favorite, and subscribe. It really helps us out and it lets us know you're listening. And Dan is going to tell you all about 5-star reviews.
hey, we love 5-star reviews, and we want to thank everybody that has given us 5-star reviews, because now like our reviews actually show up on iTunes, which is pretty cool. And yeah, so I mean, if you like our podcast or you don't like it, just give us a review, whatever you think we deserve. It really helps us out as far as searchability. Really, one of the best things you can do for a podcast that you enjoy is to give them a good review on iTunes. That's all I got to say about that.
And now Jon Drake is going to tell you all about the Nerf Herder Council.
We're the preeminent Star Wars podcast. No, I do have a Star Wars show that I host called the Nerf Herder Council, and you can find us at nerfherdercouncil.com. Spreaker and iTunes are our main platforms. We're also on Stitcher and Google Play. All of our episodes are available on YouTube if you like doing YouTube. It's a cool show, man. It's a little bit different than your standard Star Wars podcast. I mean, there's a whole ton of Star Wars podcasts out there if you're familiar with it, but a lot of it is, here's the news and keeping people up to date on what's going on and, director changes and, things like that. But we're more like if you were hanging out at the bar with your friends and you just started, bullshitting about Star Wars. And like, wow, what's better, Empire or New Hope? Like that's kind of what we do. So it's a little more free form. It's discussion based, and
well, that answer is easy.
The answer is Empire.
The answer is Empire.
Well, yes, but you'd be surprised how many people actually would disagree with that. It was kind of surprising.
It's
wrong people.
Those are the people that are nostalgic and not actually looking at the facts.
Right.
As long as they don't say Clone Wars, I'm happy.
You're not a fan of the Clone Wars cartoon, huh?
Oh, dude, I love the Clone Wars cartoon.
I think that's the best prequel.
I was talking about
episode
thing ever.
2, but all right.
Attack of the Clones, you mean? All
right, we can talk about that later. We're going to talk about Dream Theater.
Oh, yeah.
And John, you neglected to mention the other podcast you're on.
Yes, I am the new co-host of Talk Toomey, and I think the only reason Josh asked me to be on was because he wanted to deflect the haters, so I collect all the hate mail and stuff like that for him.
It's beautiful, man.
Yeah, I've noticed that. It's been mining gold looking at the Facebook comments. It's hilarious sometimes the shit that people say. I think they're... I think it's manufactured hate.
Yeah, for sure.
You're too nice of a guy for that to be the case.
I don't like things that are different, those kind of people.
Well, it's fine with me. I've had so many people, because really Toomey found me when I was doing stuff with Aiken and Neely on the Classic Metal Show, and I get crapped on a lot there. But as I've said, on the air and stuff, I get a lot of messages from fans of the Classic Metal Show who just destroy me, in the chat room or on calls, but then they message me privately and say, thanks for being a cool sport, man. It's fun. We're just goofing around. So, and like I've always said, if you're going to put something out for public consumption, not everybody's going to like it. So go ahead and crap on me. I don't care. It's like, that's par for the course. So what the hell?
Absolutely the right frame of mind to have. There's way too many sensitive flowers out there. They get their panties in a twist just because you're talking a little bit of shit that goes against what they think.
I thought you were going to say snowflakes.
No, that's like that's like a trigger word now. You can't say that.
So you're saying I need to beep that?
Well, I guess where we're coming from is we're like, man, there's a lot of hate. You know what? I think it's awesome that Toomey has a co-host, and I got to admit, the first episode I heard was the Chester Bennington thing, and I was like, yeah, who the fuck is this guy? But but like I told Toomey, I was like, you know what though? I like that I'm not just hearing just him every week, and to have a differing opinion and to have actual conversation. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe how much hate he's getting on here. Let's bring the hate. Let's bring the hate to our show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. I honestly, a lot of it, of all things, what I catch the most grief for is my laugh. And it's funny because on the Classic Metal Show, the episodes I've done, you can really hear it, and it's just ridiculous. But it hasn't happened on Toomey's show, and people are like, that guy's laugh is annoying. I'm like, I've barely laughed at anything.
I was going to say, Toomey's show's not funny at all. So
there's no humor. Well,
I'm fucked because I laugh all the time on this show.
We talked about gang rape this week, and there's a lot of humor to be mined there.
Dude, oh my God, dude. Like I was listening to that episode. So I quit using nicotine this week. And
you wanted to talk about Dream Theater with Jon Drake.
I was driving around. Well, I was driving around.
That's
so
awesome.
I'm at 1 week of no nicotine this week, and as of today. And
somebody get this man a button.
I don't want a button, but like I was like so strung out. Yeah, cut that, Joe. So, no, but I was so strung out because I was having cravings or whatever, and like, honest to God, your guys' conversation about Decapitated and the bus and all that stuff, like, I was like, oh my God, I can get through this. Like, it was so funny, and I mean, it's not like funny; it's obviously horrible, but it was definitely something that I've been contemplating a lot about. So it was really cool to hear you guys' mindset on going into that.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, it was weird because halfway into the discussion, I realized I'm like, this is really starting to sound like we're kind of defending the band.
Right.
Like we're a couple misogynist pieces of shit. So I did the disclaimer, like we're not endorsing this, just so you know. It's just having been on tour buses when somebody goes, yeah, I got gang raped in a tour bus bathroom. It's like, nobody gets gang raped in a tour bus bathroom.
Yeah, there's literally no room. Yeah, it's like it's the size of a high school locker. Like.
Yeah, it's so tiny, but
yeah, you got to back into it just to take a shit.
Oh, dude, yeah, it's crazy. And so as soon as she said that, I was like, well, are you sure it wasn't like out in the main area, like the kitchen or something? If this happened, like,
well, and like
know.
Honestly, was like Decapitated have like a big tour bus? I mean, it's not like they're not like this great band or whatever, but like, I mean,
that's the other thing.
They're
I
Decapitated from Poland. They're not like Megadeth, like.
Right. they just have like an 86 Dodge Caravan.
Right. Yeah. I mean, shit. I remember going to shows and taking 2 cars. Like, I mean, come on.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I got to admit, man, I said, we talked about gang rape on the show, and then you started talking about, I've been off nicotine for a week, and I'm like, how is this going to come together? Is he trying to say that he was so like strung out for nicotine that he was considering gang rape? Like,
I was not. I was not.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Although weirdly enough, I did listen to a Decapitated record this week, which was weird because I was supposed to be listening to Dream Theater all week. But
but see previous statement about no nicotine.
Right. Yeah. So my decisions
exactly.
have been very, very strange the past week. But no, it was just one of those things where it's like I remember like I was like, I'm just gonna listen to this podcast and I'm not gonna think about me.
Yeah.
And that was all I was trying to... Dude, we suck up to Toomey a lot. We were the podcast that was like... We introduced Toomey as the legendary Joshua Toomey.
He probably loved it, man.
Because compared to us, who was getting like... We were getting like 2 or 3 downloads per episode.
No, we're getting more than that.
We were getting more than that, but whatever. Like, he was like this huge prolific... You had talked to everybody, podcaster, so we got really excited.
Yeah. Well, I was shocked when he asked me to co-host. I was like, who the hell am I? Like, my show gets maybe 100, downloads, a week talking about Star Wars.
Right, you're breaking open champagne bottles if you get 100 downloads, right?
I know, yeah, seriously. And it's like, I'm busy ripping on David Prowse for having a lazy eye, and then you want me on your show? Like, you're actually established in doing something quality. Like,
right, yeah.
So, it was kind of surprising to me too, but...
Joe's giving me this look like we need to fucking talk about Dream Theater.
Yeah, I think we should. I think we need to get on to when Dream and Day unite.
I'm going to say this. I don't know if we were on track to begin with or if we've been off track from the beginning, but Jon Drake, tell me about Dream Theater.
Well, Dream Theater is one of my 2 all-time favorite bands. It's Van Halen and Dream Theater. My introduction to Dream Theater, I'll make it real quick, but it's actually kind of a funny story. When I was a kid, I'm kind of musically narrow-minded, and I was driving around when I was 16 years old in 1992, and my buddy was playing the Images and Words tape, but I didn't hear Pull Me Under. And I was like, what is this crap? Like, these guys need to pick a style. This is awful. And then a few weeks later, I saw the video for Pull Me Under on MTV. I'm like, this song is awesome, but I couldn't remember the name of the band, so I kept going to the library to like rent the tape and stuff, and I kept getting Kicks and Trickster and all this garbage, so it went off my radar. I couldn't find it. I'm like, this isn't that. So
fuck
fast
Trickster.
Forward, oh dude, yeah, not good. And trust me, you know how shitty it was to have to listen to Kicks and Trickster. Like,
no,
oh my
trust me, I know.
Oof. But yeah, so like fast forward, it was I think like four years later. My best friend, same guy, was in college. I went to visit him, and he had this Dream Theater CD. It looked pretty cool, and I completely forgot about the whole these guys suck thing, and I looked at the back track listing and it said Pull Me In. I'm like, oh my god, that's that song I've been looking for forever. And I put it in and I listened to the whole scene. I'm like, this is great. He just starts laughing. He's like, that's that band you were ripping on like crazy. And it was. But ever since then, man, I've been a huge fan. And I first saw him in '99 on the Metropolis tour, and I literally have not missed a single tour since. And usually I see him a couple times, and I'm in their documentary on Score. I'm in their book. I'm just like super nerd crazy fan for Dream Theater. So
man, I would have loved to seen him on the Metropolis tour. That's probably my favorite album.
Really?
It was awesome. It's funny because it's like it was the first time I saw him, but it also marks the worst opening band I've ever seen in my life. And it is this band called the Star People, which I can't even describe how awful they were.
So funny story about a opening band. I take Dan to Chicago for the Progressive Nation tour.
Yeah.
Number one, we got to see Three, which was awesome. Between the Buried and Me, first time we got to see them live. Then Opeth comes on stage, and they blew Dream Theater out of the water. And I hate saying that at the start of the show, but it happened.
No kidding.
Yeah. It went from Opeth being their, was that Deliverance and Damnation, Dan, or was that...
Well, let's just say I was going through a huge death metal phase during this. So, of course, I was there to see Opeth.
And then Dream Theater came out and they soloed for 45 minutes, but we'll get into that
later. They were very masturbatory at that time.
Yeah, that's like it's like when I saw them on the 6 Degrees tour. They were doing one of their, they jam, in spots like pretty big, and John Petrucci and John Mayung actually were doing like a dual, solo, like, doubling each other. But while they were doing it, they were juggling a soccer ball between them. So they're on one leg doing these runs and chucking a soccer ball back and forth between each other with their other foot. I'm like, really? Like, we already know you're better than all of us. Just stop it already. What the hell?
Petrucci is way talented. I don't think he gets enough credit for how good he is. I mean, everybody, when you talk about Dream Theater and you talk about amazing musicians, everybody goes straight to Portnoy.
That's because he wants it that way.
Yeah. Right. Well, I think the thing with Petrucci is that because Dream Theater are labeled as progressive metal, and to people that aren't really into them, they just think that all they do is noodle. They just think that all he does is play a million notes and that's all there is to him, which is completely not the case. So I think he gets unfairly stigmatized based on the things that people don't know about the Dream Theater catalog,
which there's a lot of. Yeah, I think we should jump right in.
All right,
works for me.
1989, where Dreams and Day unite.
Yes.
Who wants to recap Majesty, or can we just go straight into it?
Well, let's just say this: if you don't already have this record, good luck.
Yeah.
This is one of the really hard records to find.
Do any of you guys have the remastered version that was out for like a minute?
No.
I've been looking for that forever, and you can't even find it on eBay anymore.
It was limited too, wasn't it? Wasn't it limited to like 1,000 copies or something?
Yeah, there was not a lot of them.
There was not really much.
How about this? I know somebody who has it, but that's as close as I get.
Right?
And there's no way in hell that he'd sell it.
Oh, well, at this point, hell no. But if he wants to, just let one of us know, because we'll, especially me, I'm a completist. But really, the only way to get it anymore is the Yitzy Jam bootleg from Los Angeles in 2004.
Yeah. It's and it sucks too, because like this was an example of a band that got fucked over by their label, essentially.
Mechanic, yeah.
They had put this record out, and honestly, it should have been huge. But I think they only like distributed it like in their local scene, more or less. Like it didn't really go worldwide or anything, and so the band wasn't really able to like really. At that time, they're not traveling out of state. They're brand new, and they've just come up with this collection of songs, and it's sad because like this was really, to me, almost a better introduction to the band than like Images and Words. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. They definitely didn't get to tour on it. They played, I think, a sum total of like 6 shows, and they were all around their where they were living in New York.
Yeah, and like nothing at all. Yeah.
Yeah, but the only thing they got out of it was press reviews because the label at least sent it out, to some magazines, and it was pretty universally regarded as a pretty good record, So it was a real shame that Mechanic just didn't put anything behind it. So,
and Charlie Dominici, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep. Yes, Charlie Dominici. Do you guys like him or?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it would be really interesting to hear later Dream Theater stuff with him on it.
Yeah.
Just as kind of like a testing the waters. I mean, obviously, I don't have a problem with what came after, but like,
I guess I'm gonna go ahead and state it and be controversial right off the get-go.
Wow, way to be a dick, Geoff.
Yep, James is my least favorite part of the band.
You're not alone.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not really controversial. Unfortunately.
Well, no, I didn't. Yeah, he just doesn't do it for me.
You guys suck.
Well, I listened to this record.
He does it for this guy.
I bring this record home because it has the It's a Jam on it, and I'm trying to, get acquainted with past Dream Theater. Images and Words was the first record I got my hands on, and of course, once you see the It's a Jam live and you're a guitar player, you have to go home and learn it. Well, it's on the other record, so I got to go find it. Yep. And I'm like, wow, Dream Theater was just power metal. Like, we're not even progressive here. This is just straight good orchestration, good musicians. This is power metal.
I disagree. I mean, I think this is more straightforward for sure, but I think there's still elements of progressive in this.
I'm going to side with Dan on this
I'm not
as
going to
well.
lie. Like, I hate that term. I hate the term progressive music because most of the time it just means like we were aimless and we had no direction as a band.
Yeah, right.
But in the case of Dream Theater, I thought this was better than just your standard power metal.
I think and the craziest thing to me, I played in a band when I was 18, 19 years old. These guys, it's like to write that type of music with that level of sophistication and ability at such a young age is just, it always stands out to me as, it's for people who don't like this record, I always kind of look at it as, well, it's a bunch of 18-year-old kids. This is unbelievable for people of that age to be writing stuff like this. So it always has a little bit of a caveat to me that they were young, but it's still excellent. I mean, Fortune and Lies, and I actually really like Status Seeker, even though it's the last song they did and it's all commercial and stuff. I think it's got a really cool hook and everything. And
no, I definitely agree. I mean, I think, and it's weird, I was actually telling John this earlier this week, or maybe it was a couple weeks ago, I can't remember, but that I have a copy of this record, but it's on cassette. And I'm 90% sure it's a bootleg. Like, it just says Dream Theater on the front. It's like a plain, like it's like there's like clouds in the background and it says Dream Theater, and then it's like a white cassette tape, and it's got gold lettering.
Yeah, wow. Sounds like a bootleg.
Yeah, it's like, but I mean,
I don't think that matches up.
It actually sounds pretty good though. Like, I mean, for a bootleg, it's badass.
Right?
I had no issue with it, but yeah, it was. But no,
maybe
I thought
we need to get you
was,
some hearing aids.
I thought this was a really good introduction to the band, to be honest. You got the Dream Theater experience here.
Yeah, you got the gist of it right off the get-go. Like a lot of bands, it's kind of they meander before they kind of figure out who they are. Mm-hmm. You could tell that they had a thought and they kind of followed it through the entire discography. I mean, sure, it moved a little bit, but they're straight up, I guess quote unquote progressive metal / rock with a little bit of power behind it. I mean, it's they've always kind of had a similar sound. When Dream Theater is on, it's Dream Theater.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
yeah.
And
even if somebody else is singing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely have that style. Or play the drums, yes. Discussion for later tonight.
Yes, for sure.
We're gonna
get into that. Yeah.
And Kevin Moore on keys, superior to everything that followed. And
wonderful.
I know he only did 3 records, but he knows how to be a keyboardist in this type of band.
Yeah, but that's my favorite era of Dream Theater. Honestly,
the early years,
those first few records, man. Like, because to me, that's the definitive sound of the band, which I do. Controversial statement. Think that they did return to later on. But
they had a moment.
Yeah, I mean, Not that I was like super happy that the last record was 2.5 fucking hours long, but
Oh my god.
it's like I'm cramming this in a week. Like we were talking about Dream Theater for a while, and I'm very familiar with like almost everything all the way up until about like 2013. But then I had to like familiarize myself afterwards, and I was like,
Right.
oh shit, I gotta listen to this for 2 fucking hours.
It's definitely not something you could just listen to a few songs.
No, and you gotta have like the lyrics pulled up. You know, like
Yep.
it's a process, man.
Yeah. I'm not a lyric guy. If you listen to the podcast, I'm all about the feel.
You are now entering Geoff's atmosphere.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. That's because that's my favorite fucking word when I'm talking about bands, man. The atmosphere is so important to me. I don't give a shit about lyrics. I just want to close my eyes and relax and just totally, dissolve into the song. I don't want to have to think. If I want to think, if I want to think, I'll learn about thermodynamics.
Right.
Which I might know a
actually
little
agree
bit
with you
about.
completely.
Yeah, Dan is like the total opposite. Like, he is so analytical. I'm going to talk shit because he just went to go take a piss. He's so fucking analytical. And I'm like, dude, like, can you even relax while listening to music? Or you just got to, like, think about everything all the time? And because that's part of the reason why we're doing the podcast. We're total opposites on how we listen to music. He's the ultimate, consummate analytical listener, and I'm the dude. I'm like, dude, just, if it was legal in the state of Missouri, let me get high, and listen to some music and just totally veg out.
Right. Yeah, I'm a guitar guy myself, so the only time I really notice lyrics is if they're obviously shitty. Other than that, I'm always into the guitar, which is weird being a singer, but I pay attention to guitar more than anything else. So
well, you just got a fan in Joe because he is a guitar junkie.
I was about to say, speaking of guitar guys, if nobody stops me, we're going over to Images and Words.
works for me.
It works for me as well.
Metropolis.
Works for me too. I've got another beer. I'm good to go.
All right. So 1991.
Dude, is that a Pabst
92,
Tall Boy?
excuse me.
Yeah, it's a Pabst Tall Boy.
Nice.
Uh-oh, we got hipster beer on the show.
Oh, dude, you have no idea how far down the rabbit hole goes. we were just on the Drunken Lullabies podcast. So-
I was saving it for later,
yeah.
but tell me all about it.
Oh,
dude,
no,
that was
we'll
great.
talk about it later. Let's talk about Dream Theater.
All right.
They're our shit tonight. Come on.
Yeah, they are.
1992, Images and Words. Thank you, God.
Yes.
This is a great fucking album, man.
Dude, I mean, and what most people would call Dream Theater's debut.
Right?
Because
look, I
it's
can-
the first one with James, I guess.
I can stream it on Spotify or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the first one on a major label. It was actually accessible in record stores outside of Long Island, New York.
Right.
And
Which
I
was
think-
weird because they were part of MCA, weren't they? Which is that's a bigger label. That's weird. Yeah. I know it's weird that it happened that way.
Mechanic was the label for When Dream and Day Unite.
Yeah, but I thought Mechanic
it
was
was-
part of MCA.
They were like a subsidiary type of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but it just never had the distro. I mean, I think one of the things that gets overlooked with Images and Words is the fact that the disaster that was, their label situation with Mechanic actually was really the catalyst for Images and Words being as good as it was, because they went a year and a half without a label, without a singer, and they just had time to just sit on this material. And it was really like writing a first record all over again, because when you're in a band, I mean, you have all this time to write your first album. If you get signed, then it's like, okay, you've got 2 weeks to do your second record, and you're like, crap. But with this one, they almost had a second shot at the first record because they had so much downtime, and I think that's why the record's so good. And it was almost like a shot at redemption, almost, even though When Dream and Day Unite was good, it was still they got a second chance to introduce themselves to people and make a record, and I think that gets overlooked a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that, because we've talked about that quite a bit on how much time it takes. You have forever to make your first album, and then after that, it's just like hurry up and you're fast forward, and you got to do whatever the hell the label and the producer's telling you to do.
Yep.
I'd like to congratulate Jon Drake for presenting Dan's point.
Oh yes.
Well, this is well, yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that that I love about this record too is that, like, yeah, sure, you know, this was still a progression, and I thought that was interesting because I almost feel like on the first record there was a little bit of like kind of a holding back. This record really delivered in all the ways that you would want a heavy metal progressive band to deliver in. I feel like this record is more complex. The hooks are there, and that's one of the things I love about early Dream Theater is the actual hooks on the songs.
Yeah, that's really good.
And you don't,
Yeah, I agree.
you know, because as time goes on, those hooks kind of disappear. You know, they get lost in, you know,
They start
15-minute
meandering.
songs, and you
Yeah.
know, but I feel like here it was like literally like the most. They were literally the most in the pocket that they had been.
Most succinct. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and the vocals are actually better than they were before, and you know, that's hard for me to admit because
This is whenever James was good. I mean,
yeah.
I don't
think
forward.
he's bad now, but
I would say these are the best vocals done by James LaBrie. I don't know if I'd say they're the best in Dream Theater.
Well, I know that as time went on, he ended up with some sort of virus that totally fucked up his chords.
That was in after a break in Cuba on the Awake tour.
Yeah, and it took years for him to get back to where he wanted to be. And
Yep.
as you're going through the discography, I mean, you can tell, you know, he doesn't have the range, and he can't hit the notes the way that he used to because of that.
Yep, definitely.
But yeah, this is probably my second favorite album. And I know for most people this is probably their first, but for me it's my second.
It's actually my second favorite record also, I would have to say.
Okay.
So I'm one of the rare ones that also does not have my favorite record is probably going to be a shock to everybody, but I mean I think you guys hit on a really good point about, you know, the melodies and the hooks and all that stuff. It's like they took the best parts of the first record and really tightened up on them, and it just everything on this album, like the first time I heard it, it was just so dynamic, and the themes were so present. Like there was just every song you just knew, like you guys used the perfect word, the hooks, they were so strong. And you know, the way they really kind of developed what would become a trademark for them. Even though the songs were long, they would establish a motif, and like you'd have this kind of melody, you know, like you say, the hook, and it would go away from it to noodle and do this other stuff, but then all of a sudden they come back to it. So it's like it kind of anchored you within that song, and I always thought that was really cool. So
does that mean that Metropolis Part 1 is your standout cut, John?
I would have to say yes. It's either that or Learning to Live for me.
yeah, Metropolis Part 1 is definitely my favorite as well, and it's weird too because, like, I mean, it's not weird, but like it's almost like they did approach this almost as a debut record. Because, I mean, they're not stupid. They know nobody fucking heard the first one, you know?
Yeah.
But they didn't care as much. And
No.
I thought that was really great because they're still putting their best foot forward here. You know, I mean, a lot of bands, you know, will live off of the past success that they've had. But, like, with a band like Dream Theater, as phenomenal as they are now and as respected as they are now, back then, they're still trying to make an impact. And and this record definitely like encapsulates that.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, you know, with Pull Me Under becoming the hit that it was just very ironic because it ended up, I mean, it's what launched them, but it's also what screwed them. So it was a really ironic song in that respect because the label was just crushing them for another hit single for, you know, the next two records until they basically told them, well, fuck off, you know, we're doing it our way or you're getting nothing. So
can you get hit singles out of a band like Dream Theater? Really?
Well, that's where I respect them a ton. The fact that they did tell the label, fuck you, this is how we're going to do it. Either you keep us or you don't, but this is our band. We're going to do it how we want to do it. There's so many bands out there that bend and break to the pressure of a record label trying to impose, a quote unquote, hit producer on them to make them, radio friendly. I mean, that's not who Dreams Theater's audience is. I mean, it's all of us nerds that fucking love this shit. That's who buys their records. So, I mean, why don't you cater to your audience? There's so many record producers and record labels out there that are just so nearsighted they just don't get it. And I'm glad that they through all these decades they've stayed strong and stayed to their stayed true to themselves, because there's so many bands that don't.
Oh, yep. They definitely weren't able to do it at first without a lot of argument. I am trying to remember the name of the studio that recorded this.
Was it Bear Claw?
Bear Tracks.
Yeah.
Or Bear Tracks.
Bear Tracks. Yeah, they recorded a bunch of stuff at Bear Tracks.
And it kind of made me laugh because, finding this music later, you pick up on the little things that the band says. Like everybody asked Portnoy, like, why is your snare drum triggered? It's like, well, that was their thing. Why does the drums and guitar sound this way? Well, it was their thing. I know that they made a lot of good music. And this might be the most commercial record that they had. It definitely was their debut to the masses, and it was probably James LaBrie's best performance. So you've got a band that they're not progressive by name. They're just a rock band, they're a metal band, and they just happen to be the best musicians at the gig.
Yep, totally. And I mean, the other thing is, like, they had such a hard time making the record because they were battling with the producer constantly. So the fact that they did something so legendary and of such high quality while, every day was just a war with the guy that they were working with is pretty incredible in its own right.
Well, I think sometimes that tension brings about just crazy artistic magic. So
yeah,
you're going to hear about that a lot on the next one.
Oh yeah,
right.
Say hello to Kevin Moore and say goodbye to Kevin Moore.
Yeah, I said we got to start moving along.
1994, my favorite Dream Theater record. John, say it with me if you know it. Puppies on Acid.
Puppies on Acid.
AKA Awake. It's 6 a.m. Dan, this is all you.
What the fuck, Joe? This is where it got weird for me. And not in a bad way. I mean, I fucking love weird music, but damn. Like, okay. So at this point, Dream Theater has been sold to me as this, like, holy fucking shit. They are a progressive band. They are pushing metal in a direction that has not been pushed before, which was kind of ridiculous. And that, like, I was listening to, like, 94, I was listening to, like, death metal and,
Yeah, 94, I was listening to Sunny Day Real Estate.
Shut the fuck up, Geoff. Yeah. So
nice.
I was listening to, like, death metal and, like, like early Venom and shit like that. Like, cause I'm Mr. Heavy, right? Like, I listen to, like, really heavy shit. And
Thrashy shit.
Thrashy, heavy, deathy metal, a little bit of hardcore and stuff. So, like, I had no idea what to even think about this record because it blew my mind. Like, it's not that Dream Theater isn't heavy. Like, when they want to go balls to the wall, they can absolutely go balls to the wall.
Yeah, they can hang with anybody when they want to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a mixed feeling for me because, like, you've got, like, these multi-part songs.
Yep.
And I remember just being like, at the time, I remember being very, like, against it. Like, oh God, I'm more of an Obituary fan, or I'm more of a Death fan or whatever. But, like, as I've gotten older, I've really started to appreciate this record because it was Dream Theater's first step forward. Because you could write off the first two records as kind of your generic power metal, heavy metal stuff, and, like, I could see why people didn't like it because they're like, this sounds like shit that was from the 80s. And this is 1994, so, like, everybody's trying to be as against that as they can be.
Yeah, grunge is totally in full swing right now.
Yeah, so, like, I get it. I get why I didn't like it at first, but I totally get why it's become one of my favorite Dream Theater records because It is heavier than the previous two, and it is it's just out there in space, dude. Like, I can't.
6 o'clock, caught in a web.
Yeah, dude. Like,
voices, the silent man.
It's hard for me to find words.
The fucking mirror.
And I apologize. I've been drinking a bit, but like, it's
This album is foreshadowing to what you're gonna get.
It's like everything you're gonna get. Like this is the new norm, kids. So I hope you're on board, because this is where we're gonna go.
I mean, this is a close third for me. I have a hard time, on where my rankings are, but this is a fantastic album. I mean, just cover to cover. I'm one of those nerds that will sit down and I want to listen to the whole fucking thing.
You are now entering Geoff's atmosphere for the second time.
Yep, I hate fuckers who put their shit on Spotify and hit random.
But no lyrics, you fuck.
Yeah, that's right. I talked that shit while you were in the bathroom, man.
Tells a great story.
I don't care. The music tells a great story. If I sat down and listened to the lyrics, I'd probably be blown away. But the music itself, still, is just out of this world, man. I love that shit. It's funny that, John, that you mentioned that you're a vocalist and you pay attention to everything else. I am totally a vocals guy. I like the sound of the voice. I don't pay attention to what they're singing. And I like everything as a collective whole. I view it I did a lot of classical music before I got into metal. I played violin, viola, and cello, so that's my background. So I'm like ultimate nerd when it comes to music.
Right.
So that stuff with when you go back and you look at a lot of that classical music, there's so much emotion and there's so much feeling in it. And that's, people that just think, classical music, oh, that's so technical. No, it's not. I'm like, it's all about the feel. And this album's got so much feel to it. It's awesome.
It's also really fucking heavy for 94.
Yeah.
Can I throw that out there? Like, it is the
heavy.
heaviest Dream Theater has been to this point.
Yeah, to this point.
Yeah.
I actually think it's also one of their most, if not their most diverse record, because you go from stuff like 6 a.m., but then you've got The Mirror, but then you got Silent Man, and then you've got Lie, and then you've got Space Divest at the end. I mean, it really is kind of a roller coaster of a bunch of different stuff, and it's just awesome how it does that. And it's one of the most fascinating things to me. And
I will have to admit, whenever we hit the bottom part of the roller coaster, which is the ballad-y kind of stuff, I want to get off.
It only goes downhill after this.
Yeah, that's mainly because, this is our website's discussmetal.com. That should kind of give you a hint on why we're more into the metal side of things and less into the ballad side of things.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means that it wasn't specifically for us.
Yeah, I mean, I like all of it. I mean, and in saying so, I really think that one thing about this record is that I think this record kind of actually established their fan base, because with Images and Words, you had people that bought that record because of Pull Me Under. And,
absolutely, yeah.
And then with this one, if you stuck around after Awake, you were a Dream Theater fan. If you were like, fuck this, then you were a Pull Me Under fan. So this one really kind of weeded out the people who were either fans or just, guys who listened on the radio. And after this, they were, it's kind of like, culling the herd, so to speak, with this record. So
yeah, this is whenever the nerds started buying all of their shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the truth. I mean, because that's who stuck. Was the people who were complete music nerds and like, this shit is amazing. But before then, it was, some people were looking for that next single, like we were talking about earlier. It's no longer about that. This is serious music for the music.
Yeah, they're
nerd.
not a singles band. They're not gonna rock your top 40. Like.
Although they do in Japan and
this
Finland.
This is stuff that we really don't. Japan's awesome, but
that's right.
Like, this is stuff that you're not, if your favorite song in 1994 is "Come As You Are" by Nirvana, you're not gonna fucking care. about what Dream Theater's doing.
Mine was 7 by Sunny Day Real Estate.
Shut the fuck up, Geoff.
So
he's like Donnie. He's like Donnie from The Big Lebowski. You know, we just have to. You know.
Shut the fuck up, Donnie. You're out of your element.
Right.
Oh, dude, that is.
Geoff is headed for a world of pain.
Oh,
that is true.
that is so good, man. We're cutting that clip and we're gonna be playing that soundbite over and over again.
So Jeff's Donnie. Joe's the dude, and I guess that makes me Walter.
There you go.
Nice.
What am I going to take?
What was that shit about Vietnam, Walter?
Yeah. This has nothing to do with Vietnam, Walter. Well, not directly, but that is a fantastic movie. We'll have to do another episode just based on the Big Lebowski.
I feel like
writing that down.
I feel like this is not the last time we're gonna hear from Jon Drake.
Dude, you just got us so much hate mail, and we're only 45 minutes in.
Hell yes.
Yeah, that's all right.
I'll take it.
Speaking of hate mail, why don't we move on to Falling into Infinity?
Oh my God.
Oh, I was going to talk about the mirror for 20 more minutes.
Talk
but
about
hey.
the mirror for a second, Joe. You earned that.
No,
buddy.
dude. This
You
is
got this, buddy. You earned it.
Awake is Dream Theater, in my opinion, and that's I can stop there. You should listen to the whole record except for Space Divest, or maybe it was Lie. I can't remember. John, which song was it that Kevin Moore snuck on the record and then quit?
That was Space Divest.
That's why I skipped the last track. Ayo!
They just played it live for the first time 2 tours ago.
Really?
Really?
Damn.
Did he
Yeah,
come
that
back
was-
for a minute or something?
No, this is so. What it is.
Oh, wait, I forgot. Mike Portnoy's no longer in the band, and he's not holding on to a fucking grudge.
Exactly. It was the one song that they swore they would never, ever play live.
Once again,
And
Mike Portnoy
so when
wanted you to think that.
Yes. Well, it worked apparently. But yeah, when they went out and did the tour for the self-titled record, they it was the 20th anniversary of Awake, and then it was the 15th anniversary of Metropolis. So they actually did like half. They did the second half of the record of Awake, and they did Space Divest. It was the first time they'd ever played it live. So that was kind of cool. I saw that tour in Chicago, and it was cool to see it. You know, I'm actually one of the people that actually really digs that tune just because it is so kind of quirky. It's got a really weird vibe to it, which I've always been into. So, yeah, you're talking about feel. I think that song has got a really weird feel to it that I always kind of liked.
So are you located out of the Chicago area?
No, I'm actually in a suburb of Cleveland, but I road trip. I refuse to miss a Dream Theater tour.
Oh,
and
okay.
Chicago, the shows in Chicago it's only like a 5.5 hour drive, and the last 3 tours they've played on a weekend.
Only.
Like yeah, right. Well, you know, I sang in a band in Dayton, Ohio, which is like 3 hours away for years. And so I would make, you know, a there and back trip in one night of a 6-hour round trip. So driving is not a big deal for me. So it doesn't really bother me. But, you know, I'm actually going to see him on this tour in Chicago again. So
Maybe they're going to play New Millennium from Falling into Infinity, 1997.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you
They
what, they'll
might.
be coming to St. Louis. They'll get their shit stolen.
Dude, nobody wants to come to
Jeff
St.
is a
Louis
professional.
now.
Don't come here. Your shit'll get stolen, guy.
hey, my band got our stuff stolen last November, so I can feel that pain.
We have to deal.
man.
We have to deal with living in St. Louis constantly. It's been rough as of late.
Yeah, unfortunately, I wish I could say that it's all like butterflies and puppy dogs, but it's
It's
not.
more like straight up race wars.
Yeah. You're talking about Cleveland. My parents lived in Avon for like a decade.
My wife's aunt lives there.
Okay, yeah, they just moved here a few years ago after they retired.
Very cool. Yeah, I've been here my whole life. So, but like I said, I road trip a lot to see bands and stuff. Van Halen, Dream Theater.
I'm sorry,
Anthrax.
there's not a whole lot of hockey in Cleveland. So
Dude, don't bother coming to St. Louis because nobody comes to St. Louis.
One of my good buddies is from there, and he says the same thing.
Dude, it's shitty. Like, I mean, I hate to bring this up on every single podcast, but like, St. Louis is like the worst town for metal that could exist. And I don't even care what kind of metal you play. You could play modern metal, you could play old school metal, you could play like 80s metal. It doesn't matter. Nobody gives a fuck. Like it's all about rap.
It's all about rap,
Or
Breaking Benjamin, the Urge,
yeah,
Offspring,
Tool, yeah, like all that shit. Like everything
that was late 90s, early 2000s, we're literally stuck in time.
Yeah, like our most like modern station still regularly play shit like Tool and Temple of the Dog, and like
it's good stuff. You just wish that they would play some of the other stuff.
Because I've been bred my whole life to believe that it's good, but like it's frustrating.
Temple of the Dog is fucking awesome.
If you're a new band in St. Louis, I am so sorry.
Yeah, see, I mean, if you're into metal, at least on a local level, Cleveland's where to go because that's all there is. Oh my God,
that's awesome.
You go out.
I'm so jealous.
No, don't be jealous. Please don't be jealous. It's nothing but horrible Cookie Monster garbage.
Oh, and I mean, that's us. We love that shit.
Dan likes Cookie Monster.
I do love Cookie Monster vocals.
But you like the good stuff. I'm talking crap.
Oh, you don't know, man. I'm the guy that said the Death was better than Pantera. So,
well, it's,
because you think you're the most hated man in podcasting. I'm the guy that said the Dimebag Darrell wasn't that original. So,
that's okay, man. Everybody's entitled to a wrong opinion every now and then. So
yeah, it's all good, and I'm sure it's wrong. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah, right. So
just let me breathe.
Falling into infinity, as I was saying earlier, my favorite record may surprise some people, and we're at it.
No kidding.
So,
wow.
I am definitely surprised.
I am surprised as well.
I think the reason for me is that it's the most loose of their records, and it's the only one that really has kind of like a more open jam kind of a feel. It just has a little bit of a different vibe from anything else they did, and I really get into it. So I mean, it's also got Trial of Tears, which is one of my all-time favorite Dream Theater tunes. I just really like the feel of it. The production I've always thought was pretty cool. I've really dug it, and I absolutely love Derek Sherinian's keyboard playing. I think he's I love Kevin Moore, and I think Derek Sherinian at least did justice to I would say the way that what Kevin Moore brought to the band, and by that I mean the first few records, if you listen to them, and I'm not very musical, I'm an idiot because I'm a singer, but it seemed to be more upbeat, like major key sounding stuff. And I think when Jordan Rudess came in, it kind of got a little darker, and I like the stuff that's a little more in that lighter category, and Derek Sherinian and Kevin Moore both had that.
This is definitely before they started being up their own ass. They're on the way to being up their own ass, but this is still kind of, we're going to try something a little bit different. A little bit more of the jam is going to come out in the final product. Because before this, it was less about jamming and more about orchestration. And I think this is where we kind of just started hanging out in the deep end a little bit. Like, well, it's okay to sneak the jam in, which... And this is where Mike Portnoy starts to show off how good he is or isn't, depending on how you look at it. I mean, you have this giant drum kit, and I can only hear 6 pieces on the album, so come on, dude. It's all about looks, and I'm cool with it. Don't get me wrong, Mike Portnoy is amazing as a player. But this is where they start kind of being up their own ass, because I listened to this, and it sounds very, very similar to Liquid Tension Experiment.
Yeah, well, I mean, and they were doing that at the same time. I mean, the first Liquid Tension Experiment was 98. Falling into Infinity was 97. So they were just kind of in that headspace.
Right.
So but I mean, one of my all-time favorite things they ever did is on this record, and it's short. But Hell's Kitchen to me is one of the coolest musical things they ever did. Something about that is so catchy to me. So it's it stands out to me right there in the middle, and it was.
And James isn't singing.
Yeah, there you go. So if you don't like James, this is for you. But it's funny because Hell's Kitchen was supposed to be the middle part of Burning My Soul, but they decided, the label's like, oh, this is too long.
I didn't know that.
Singles. Yeah, it was the middle part of Burning My Soul, and they took it out and made it its own piece. because the label didn't want some gigantic, like 12, 13-minute monster. So they had to make it something separate.
And here I was giving them kudos for not kowtowing.
Oh, they kowtowed like crazy. They actually, You Not Me was written with Desmond Child.
Oh, wow. That I did not know.
Yep. And
Mr. Generic.
They were the label was all over them for these hits. They actually had to go back to the label about, I think it was 3 times with different batches of songs, because they sent them the first batch and the label went, no, give us more. So they had to go write more, and then the label went, no, and they had to go back a 3rd time. And then finally the label's like, well, we can't wait anymore, so just, go ahead and start recording.
Did the label not realize what band they signed?
Yeah, they honestly,
like...
That's why they have the video for Hollow Years, because they were trying to recreate that and get on the ballad train and, get it on MTV, but it was almost never played, and it was just boring.
Yeah, the ballad train is like the worst train to be on.
Right. I mean, that being said, I love Hollow Years, don't get me wrong. That's a great song, but this record was it was the record that almost broke the band up.
But it's not why you buy a Dream Theater record.
No, not
it
at
might
all.
be a good song, but total douchebag can write good songs every now and again.
This was also the debut of the
Kid Rock.
This was also the debut of the Mike Portnoy kick drum. That very triggered, slight little bit of reverb. Yeah, it never went away after this, and I get it. You're Mike Portnoy. You want a signature sound. The only drummer that has a signature kick that sounds good is Lars Ulrich.
Oh, fuck you.
I said that has a signature kick.
Oh, my God.
Shitty kick?
Jesus
I was going to say, by signature, do you mean like played absolutely horribly?
You can say it however you want. It sounds good. This kick sounds flat and mediocre. I don't like it.
It sounds like a thing that exists.
It does exist.
That is literally the best way I can describe it. It sounds like a thing that exists in the world that we exist in.
Right.
Well, it's almost like if the band was going to break up, they might as well just be up their own butt, because this is where it started.
This is.
Oh, you're talking shit on his favorite
This is
album,
the beginning
Joe.
of. This is the beginning, and again, it's the beginning, so it's not terrible on its own. But this is the beginning of Dream Theater being completely up their own anal cavity.
Yeah, like I could see that. Like I say, to me, this one sounds different than anything they did. It was definitely a little different from, from Images and Words and When Dreaming Day Unite, the first 3, and then nothing after it sounded like this either. It just wasn't. This was the one album that wasn't overly precise and whatnot, and you can hear their desire to try and write another hit single, because there's so many. The songs are a little shorter. They're a little more stock in terms of the arrangement in some places, and some of the best stuff from the record never made it on there, because the label stuff like Raise the Knife was the really cool song, but didn't make the record, and so it was, like I said, it was very different, and I know I'm almost universally alone in saying it's my favorite record, but
it's all right, man.
Something about it I just love,
It is a great record.
Like they were trying new things. I think there was a sense of this primordial, we're gonna try to reach out and do something different here that's not going to be expected. But again, you've got the label that's like, no, fuck you. We need a 3.5 minute single, and that's just not this band. And you can't expect that type of radio perfection from a band like Dream Theater, especially at this point. I mean, they're not out to please anybody other than themselves or other musicians that may happen to be fans of the band. And so I think this was a tough record for them, because they had to kind of overcome that. Okay, from here on out, we don't give a shit about public opinion.
Yeah,
we're just doing what we want to do.
Does that mean we're going to segue?
This is also when their main fan base was in Japan, where musicianship is far more appreciated.
Awesome. Japan is the shit.
Dan knocks my phone out of my hand.
Yeah, well, you deserved it. You piece of shit.
Well, I see where he's going with this. So
I'm a little drunk. So
let's teleport to 1999.
Oh, concept albums, my favorite.
Oh yeah.
Love it.
Oh my God, this is my favorite album.
All right, let me introduce this properly. You are now entering Jeffrey's atmosphere.
Oh, dude.
Shit.
Dude, this is when you finally get to listen to an album as like it was one massive track. I know most people can't stand that shit, but
Is that your love of Sunny Day Real Estate coming out, or
no, that's my love of Swallow the Sun coming back. Since we were talking
I don't
about
want to talk about Swallow the Sun anymore.
Well,
dude.
of the records that Dream Theater has done that are just one track, this would be the best one.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, fair enough.
This is, like I said, this was my live introduction to the band. And I still remember when it came out, we had our local rock station on Sunday nights had a show called The Metal Show. It's actually how I met Chris Aiken, and he and I have been friends for years. So when this came out in '99, Aiken and his co-host Warlock, my other buddy Matt Wardlaw, they played on the show this entire record, and they had announced in advance a few weeks ago, we're going to play the whole Dream Theater record, man. And I'll never forget sitting there listening to this at my girlfriend's house and just completely nerding out. Like, this is like damn near perfection. It's so goddamn good.
Yeah, this is fan-fucking-tastic. There's no other way to put it. For this being their first, true attempt at a concept album, I mean, they hit a grand slam. I mean, this thing is great. I mean, I know that's probably the generic, this is my favorite album statement, but it is my favorite album. I mean, it doesn't have my favorite song on it. Actually, we haven't even talked about my favorite song yet, which might be a surprise to some, but yeah, this album is just cover to cover. It's what you want. It is fantastic.
2 more records until Mike Portnoy gets his signature snare. I'll wait until then to bitch about the drums.
Was this the point where Mike Portnoy was like, yeah, this is my band?
I'm taking over. It really was him and Petrucci.
Yeah,
and
it
they
was
actually-
literally like, this is just our thing. All the
They
other
actually
guys
said that.
Yeah,
which is cool with me.
I believe it.
Him and Petrucci together, man. I mean, they're the main cogs, in my opinion. When Portnoy leaves, my interest wanes a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh,
We
will talk about Mr.
interesting
Mangini.
discussion for later.
We're not there yet.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Since it's coming up, I'm gonna.
Drink some more beer. Just wait up.
Yeah.
Okay, I can
Right?
I can drink beer, just
Yeah.
not as good as Dan can.
Nice.
I don't know about good.
Yeah, no, they actually said that they had band meetings before they started this album where Petrucci and Portnoy told the other guys, like, look, we're taking charge, like, this is our thing. And because before they would just argue and bitch for 2 weeks about literally 2 notes, and finally they did all the work anyway, and everybody knew it, so they just said, look, we're gonna make the decisions and you guys go along for the ride. And they went, okay. So no pun intended there, along for the ride. But but it really, this was the first time they did that, and I think it was, man, the results were awesome. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel, but to me, for like hard rock and heavy metal, at least for me, like the benchmark concept record is Operation Mindcrime, and I think this is completely on par with that, at least for me.
Really?
Unfortunately for me, the standard when it comes to concept record will always be Colors by Between the Buried and Me, because I'm waiting for that one to be beat. And that's actually the prime reason why we talk about Dream Theater being up their own ass. Colors was a great record. Prior to that, we got records that had maybe a concept, but really were still a collection of songs. Once we start being completely up our own ass and everything is a concept record, you can't make this again.
Yeah.
And after this, you had 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence, which the first half of that is songs, and the second half is we're up our own ass.
Straight masturbation after that.
Straight up. Octavarium, same thing.
At the same time, I can't say that like I didn't enjoy it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Who doesn't love masturbation?
right? I mean, like, I don't know. I don't want to get too controversial here, but
masturbating
yeah.
here. Which one of you?
Who doesn't enjoy to masturbate a bit? But yeah, like it's it's one of those things where, like, you know, and I bring this quote up a lot on our show is, like Ian Malcolm said in Jurassic Park, you spend so much time focusing on whether or not you could, you never thought about whether or not you should.
Yeah. Whether you should, yeah.
So, and that's how I feel about Dream Theater from this point on in their career.
Oh, I don't know about that, but yeah, this is totally, they could and they should, and they did.
Yeah.
And thank God they did.
Oh, this one needed to happen.
I get that Geoff likes to masturbate. I get that, but like,
dude, I think I'm in competition with Jay from Jay and Silent Bob on who masturbates the most.
Oh, it's definitely you, dude. You don't have to. That's not a big reveal. We all knew that.
And apparently, I think about when I do it, and this.
Oh my God! Dude, we can't fucking air this episode now.
Oh my God!
Joe, trust me, I've already timestamped it.
Oh my God! I'm sure he did because I'm such an ass.
That is fucked up, Geoff. You're wrong, and you're going to hell. That's
I know you guys.
That's what my pastor said.
And I'm not that much. I haven't done that much more podcasting than you. I know you're new, but just so you're aware, there are other ways to get on people's podcasts than telling them you masturbate to them.
Oh, you tell that to Geoff,
options.
man. He's
here. Let me try this then. Hey, John, I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. Can I be on your podcast?
Of course you can. I was going to invite you anyway.
Sweet.
Why is it always Geoff? Is it because he's the easiest one out of all of us?
Dude,
Because he's not drunk yet.
No, I'm. Doesn't matter if I'm drunk
I'm
or
not
not.
fucking drunk.
It doesn't matter if I'm drunk or not. I'm always the easiest.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Anybody could be on our show. Just like if you want to crap on the prequels, that's fine. But you're going to be in for a hell of a battle. So.
Oh, you think so, bro? It's a fucking date.
Hey, do you talk about books too? I'm a huge Christy Golden fan, so.
Sure, we can talk about books that Disney has decided is no
It's a
longer in
debate.
continuity.
Oh, dude.
If you want to debate the prequels, I'm down.
We can debate them all you want, man. I love the prequels, and I will go to war anytime in their defense. That's my role.
I gotta warn you, I'm a heavy Plinkett fan.
Oh, oh my God. Are you kidding me? That is the worst trash.
Oh, okay.